It's 3:30, so we're gonna start now. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. You show up on time. You deserve for things to start on time and hopefully end on time, if not earlier. My name is Josh Nixon. I work with the Boston Debate League. I'm a program manager for a few of you, and I am going over the lecture for this year's topics. So we'll go over the two affirmative cases that we've selected this year, and we'll go over the two negatives, and we'll do a brief. It'll just be a brief summary. For those of you who were at Coach Camp, you have seen a lot of this presentation last year. And for those of you who are new, I hope that you get to get a quick crash course onto what it is that we're talking about this year. And also, we'll go into some of the resources that the debaters and alumni have prepared for us throughout the year. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints before we go? All righty. So, this year's topic, actually, so outcomes, apologies. So we'll know the resolution because in order to know the topics, you kind of have to know the resolution. We'll discuss this year's abs and negs, so the two affirmatives that we've chosen, and then the two negatives that we've chosen that are still kind of in progress. Until we print the files, they're in progress. So I just want to say that again. Until we print the files, they are still in progress. We're still working on them, and we're still making edits to them in real time. The third one is to experience some of the debate, the coach resources, and a quick debrief if we have time.
Can we use the resources we were given at coach's camp to kind of play with in the classroom in the meantime, or should we wait till something's finalized?
No. You could definitely use the yeah, you could definitely do that. Yeah. Okay. It'll be finalized sooner rather than later. It's just it's not 100% finalized right now. So like we want to go as close to the wire as possible to make sure that the debate experience, especially for the novice in the early stages of debate, we want to make sure that that is integral. Like that is like they have a really good experience, but it's not too much, and that like we know when they're ready to move up. You know. Let me check out the chat. Are there any links to the? Yes, there is a link. I will I will copy it into the chat when I get there. I should have did it before though. Excuse me. All right, we're gonna skip that. So, anyone know this year's resolution? I know we're on Zoom, but I hope that we get to interact at least a little bit. Anyone know this year's resolution? No. All right. So this year's resolution is drum roll. Do you? Oh man, my okay. I know it by heart, but the United States federal government should substantially increase fiscal redistribution in the United States by adopting a federal jobs guarantee, expanding Social Security, and or providing a basic income. That is this year's resolution. And I guess I have a quick question for you. What does that even mean? What does it mean? If you just had to guess what that means, what does that mean?
Tax the rich and use it to pay for those three programs.
More or less. More or less, right? In some way, shape, or form, right? Not as cut and dry, but as general as possible, yes. Oops, apologies. Any questions about this though? Any questions about like this resolution? All right, so we'll get into this year's cases. Apologies. All right, so the first affirmative is the federal jobs guarantee. And this one is aimed at addressing income inequality through solving for homelessness and unemployment. And this one also addresses unemployment and stagnant wages because the federal government will be able to set the minimum wage, and private companies will either have to pay for companies. Will have to pay more for employees or lose them to federal jobs. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is that there are many people who are living paycheck to paycheck, which puts them at greater risk of being homeless. The third part is unemployment is a prominent factor in the persistence of homelessness across the country. Homelessness is associated with a 60% greater mortality risk than poverty alone. So just like not just not having money, but like not having a home, sheltered or otherwise, you have a much higher mortality risk than if you were to be like homeless. The federal government is key to providing training and jobs for all folks who want and need a job. I think this is key because a lot of times someone will be like, well, why can't private companies do this? And if you look at the world right now, we can see that private companies can't do this. They don't ever want to pay competitive wages or good wages to folks. So the federal government is actually key to not only providing the jobs for folks because they know the types of jobs that are needed, but they also are key to providing the training for the jobs so that the jobs that need to be filled can also be filled. And the last part, and sorry, not the last part, but one more part to this is, and it goes to anyone who wants a job. So the way that the plan is worded, it's worded in such a way that like it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. So like a lot of things that would usually get in the way of people getting jobs are not in the way and intentionally so that like people can actually get jobs. The Green New Deal, I'm sure that you all have heard of it, but the Green New Deal is a federal jobs guarantee that is based around offering everyone a job with the intentions of creating jobs around climate change. So this right here is just a summary, and there's a summary for the other parts, but this is a summary, a gist of what the federal jobs guarantee is for this year, the case that is going to be around this year. So does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? And if we have time at the end, we can look at some evidence. Checking chat. Nothing there. Alrighty. Moving on. A universal basic income brought to you by ChatGPT. So a universal basic income is where every citizen or resident of a country receives a regular and unconditional cash payment from the government or a public institution. And the payment is usually given like regularly and is intended to provide a basic level of support for everyone, regardless of, you know, again, who they are and other factors. The key is like universal, i.e. everyone within a certain jurisdiction, regardless of income or factors, will be a part of the basic income. Unconditional receives payment without any conditions. So sometimes people will be like, well, you can get a basic income if you give up your welfare benefits, or so like you have to work 25 hours a week or so, or things that are sometimes really, really tedious and trivial. So unconditional, give money. Regular means that like consistent. So like, you know, they don't have to worry about getting a whole lump sum of money and having that money go throughout, having to survive for like an entire year off a lump sum of money. It's funny because I used to think that I can do that, and yeah, it's very difficult for a lot of different reasons. And basic being usually the money is to cover like essential things like food, water, shelter, things that you really, really need taken care of. It wouldn't be like you get money to buy a Gucci belt or something, even though you probably could, but you would have to really argue how basic that is. And then a cash payment. So like unlike like in-kind things or unlike what am I thinking of? It's on the oh man, the word is on the tip of my tongue. Oh my goodness. Like food stamps, right? Like food stamps, how like you can't use food stamps to buy anything but food in that particular spots, et cetera, et cetera. None of that. A UBI would be a cash payment that they would receive and then use to have the freedom to spend it as they see fit. And these are the two affirmatives, with the first one being the federal jobs guarantee that we will start with this year. So this first half of the year, we will be debating the federal jobs guarantee versus the affordable housing, which we'll cover in a bit. And then later on in the year, we'll flip to universal basic income versus the baby bonds, which we'll cover in a little bit. Carrying on. So the first negative for this year is affordable housing. So usually how debate would go is the affirmative would propose like a plan and it does all these great things. And then the negative would just say, no, the plan is a bad idea, or no, the harms of this plan the harms of what you're saying doesn't exist, or the solvency doesn't exist. And um, for a lot of topics, we find that to be okay to debate. For this particular topic, though, because of the heaviness of what we're talking about, one of the main harms is homelessness. There's unemployment harm. There's the economy harm, and a lot of it is affecting like our students in real time. Like this is not stuff that, unlike a lot of topics that may seem a bit distant, like the space exploration topic a few years ago, or even last year's topic about NATO to some extent, right? I feel like those topics, though they were great topics, they were topics that were a little less engageable with our debaters. Like they, you know what I'm saying? I think that these topics are really great, and in that effort, though, we wanted to be careful about the types of arguments that we were having our debaters make, because we all want to say that, oh, homelessness is not a problem, especially when a portion of our debaters deal with homelessness in real time. So what we wanted to do instead was, instead of saying that homelessness is bad and that the harms of homelessness don't exist, what we wanted to do was provide a counter plan, like a different advocacy for how to solve for the harms that the affirmative is saying. And this is where the idea of affordable housing comes into play, right? Because a federal jobs guarantee, in this instance of our debate, we are looking to solve for homelessness, and through homelessness, like unemployment. Let me check out this. Yes, yep. So, yep. And we believe that like the way that these arguments are written and the way that they're executed, it matters, because if they're executed poorly or and if they're boring, then like doesn't matter how much certain students just won't want to engage. So the idea of this is to say that like, okay, homelessness is a problem, right? And people who are unemployed, like unemployment is a problem. But the way that the affirmative is going about doing it, it's not the right way of solving this problem. And instead, what we need to do is provide affordable housing units so that there's more affordable housing for people to not be homeless. And excuse me, um, affordable housing is a big reason why folks don't have homes either, is what the negative will argue. Not just the fact that they're not getting paid well, but that there's a lack of affordable housing units. And affordable housing is competitive because it does address homelessness and unemployment, but addresses it in a very different way. For example, if you provide someone a home, then obviously they're not homeless, right? And if you provide a bunch of affordable housing, then the people who are struggling to pay for housing through stagnant wages and stuff, they will be able to afford housing. And one of the big things that this presents is like a net benefit. So the one thing that the negative has that the affirmative can't 100% do, because no amount of jobs is going to 100% solve for homelessness, right? I feel like we can all agree to that, even though I feel like we can make a great dent in it. I don't think that any amount of jobs is going to save it 100%. But what the negative has is like, if we offer affordable housing units and we do this correctly, we will be able to address homelessness 100%. And not only that, it in its own way, it adds money into the economy, because where the people are when they're not like, taking money away from essential services and things like that, that money is also being reinfused into the economy through other ways, through spending and other ways like that. I'm gonna check out this. Different advocacy and counter plans are definitely areas that as new coaches will learn. Yes, and hopefully we'll have a lot of PDs that are centered around just kind of like engaging in the way that these arguments interact with each other more generally, so that like, it could be any type of conversation that you want to have. You'll have the scaffolding to like, allow the debaters to engage in two different advocacies and understand how that actual debate structure works, as opposed to like doing it for the sake of doing it. But this is the affordable housing. Is there any questions about this one? And to be clear, The affordable housing is set up to directly clash with the federal jobs guarantee. So it'll be federal jobs guarantee is the affirmative, and for the negative, for novice anyways, for novice, yeah, for high school novice and middle school novice and middle school JV, it'll be the federal jobs guarantee versus affordable housing, and it'll be strictly that. All right, I'm gonna move on. All right, so the last one is baby bonds. This is this is probably one of my favorites, to be honest. Because I think it's a very, very interesting way of dealing with fiscal redistribution and wealth inequality. And but essentially, baby bonds are specifically aimed at addressing the racial wealth gap. And this refers to the fact that, you know, when health is, health is wealth as well. But when wealth is inherited, passing from generation to generation, is significantly higher for white families than Black, Latino, Asian families, and mostly everyone else. For example, in 2016, the median Black family had about $17,000 in wealth compared to a typical white family who had about $170,000 in wealth. I think math would tell me that that is a 10 times, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's like 10 times as much, even though it feels like more. Anyways, it's a lot. Next, the American Opportunities Act, also known as baby bonds, would give every American child a fair chance at economic mobility by creating a seed savings account for like $1,000 at birth. This is we can still work on this, but generally this is what it will say. The funds will sit in an interest-bearing account that would receive additional deposits each year, depending on the family income, which is huge. So, like, if you're making a lot of money, then like the amount of deposits that you would receive would be infinitely less than like if your family's not making a lot of money. At the age of 18, you can access it for buying a house and other things that are needed. And the baby bonds will fix our broken tax code by providing every American child with the startup capital in their life, helping them down the line. So that's the important thing about the baby bonds one, is that you don't get that initial money that you would for the universal basic income, the UBI. And that's how these ones are designed to clash. So like UBI is addressing it by giving people money up front, having everyone get it up front. And this one is addressing income inequality through baby bonds, through like you can't get it right now, but when you become an age, then you'll have enough money windfall to like take care of a lot of things in the future, and to maybe set yourself up for a really good future, like paying for college expenses or buying your first home. Comments, questions, concerns, complaints? I'm keeping my eye on chat, so if you want to chat something.
Sure, why not?
Mhm.
So the baby bonds, as I understood it from just a really, really basic view, is everyone would get the 1,000 and then income would play into it corresponding years. Is that
Yep.
kind of am I
That's how this one I see is written, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you think that there's anything wrong with that, or should it be worded differently?
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the concept so that I can start from just a basic understanding before we debate what goes into it. I just didn't want to improperly say that everyone gets 1,000 if that wasn't accurate.
No worries. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, but the good thing about this case is that you won't have to see this one until the second half of the season. So this will match up with the universal basic income case that comes in the next season. So you won't have to directly interact with this one yet. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right. Oops. All right, we're not going to do that. So we'll spend the second half of this time just kind of going through some of the practice resources that we've procured throughout the week. You'll see some of the lessons that we've done. We won't go through them because some of them, actually, I think all of them are designed to be in person. Excuse me. But we'll show you some of them. so you have a glimpse of what we are offering. I'll also put it in the link in chat where all of these resources are stored. And hopefully these will aid you in teaching the concepts of it, like the federal jobs guarantee, what is wealth inequality, etc. So over the past 3 weeks, oops. Can I copy? Yes. Then can I come down here? So I'm gonna paste this link in chat so that y'all can have it if it works. Okay, good. So this is the link to the folders that are in the debate camp that came from debate camp this past year. I just wanted to do this because I wanted to open this up for you so that you could see it on my screen. So yeah, these are the morning labs, and the way that the debate camp was structured, because it was a month long, it was structured in a way that like the morning labs had a lot of the chunky, heavy thought, intensive work in it, and then the second half was more of the relaxed stuff. There wasn't that much of the debate stuff. That was more of the fun stuff for the debaters to kind of engage in. They had a lot of fun. There were a lot of different electives that they got to interact with, from theater to there was a mental health elective. So that's why you only see morning labs, because the debate rigorous stuff was done in the morning. So like if we look at week 1, you'll see that every day there is. I would not go to Friday because Friday is just a end of the week debate. Every week, at the end of every week, there was a debate for them. But if you go to Tuesday and you check out the poverty income gap, wealth income words, what is the wealth and income gap? Apologies. You could go through and use this entire PowerPoint for yourself. You can even use the quick debate right here, have them engage. Obviously, we just edit times because this is an all-day camp thing, and your debate practice will not be all day unless you have all-day debate practices. Then, whoo, you're something else. And then you just have like the session outcomes, and then you just have like what it is. This text right here. Anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. I feel like that's just a really thought-provoking claim. A lot of people feel like it's a thought-provoking claim. And then you could just run this activity. You'll have the what does Baldwin mean by this, et cetera, et cetera. And then you'll get into some of the key terms, like what are the most important things that you need to remember. Especially as a debater, this is kind of important. And then one thing that's great is that there are different ways of saying the same thing. So you have like your words here for people who like could see words and understand this in a way that they can internalize what these words mean. Other people, kind of like myself, I'm more of a visual person. Like I need pictures and I need more metaphors. And the wealth bucket metaphor came out of the efforts. And this also helps explain what wealth, how wealth and income and expenses all interact as well. So you had that. I can go through all of them. But as you see, you have week 1. You have 4 weeks worth of stuff. So like, let's check. Yeah, Monday was like the showcase week, so there wasn't much for that. But yeah, definitely the first 2 weeks have a lot of the good stuff in it, because that's where a lot of the work. The other 2 weeks were like more prep work for them, getting ready for debates. There's also other stuff that's like the research and reasoning. Like there's the whole knowledge part of the debate, and then we have like these are what is research and reasoning, and you can run this as well. Obviously, you're not going to be here all day, so on and so forth. Go debate with stats. Here. So that's where this link is. What I just showed you were just a few folders from some of those links, and we'll see some of them coming up as well. So yeah, this is the table talk one that we talked about with this quote. People love this one. It's always a thought-provoking conversation. You realize how much the debaters really know. So that's why we like this one. Exploring key terms like we saw, the wealth bucket metaphor as we saw. And then, it has like these questions that we like to ask. How is wealth distributed in the United States? And I think oh, no, that's not the end. Apologies. But yeah. Then you'd have like a share out. Usually this is oh, sorry. We skipped a really fun one. If you were at Coach Camp, you did the M&Ms one. This is always, yeah. So each group gets like 20 M&Ms, and then you ask them to like write the 5, from poorest to wealthiest, and then you ask them to like separate the M&Ms based off how they feel, and then at the end you kind of show them, what it's really like, and usually their minds are blown. It's a really fun thing. The handouts here, we did it at the camp. The debaters loved it, and also the coaches loved it too. There's always a share out usually, just because we engage them. And then the camp essential question, which is usually the question that we bind a lot of our stuff around, is like, what is economic justice? And that's what our binding is this year. And then there's a video about the wealth gap. If you can also show this. And then that'll be it. So those are some of the resources that you'll find in this folder, in this link right here, along with more fleshed out PowerPoints and stuff like that. Like, explain what is baby bonds. So there's a whole session on baby bonds and the distribution of M&Ms and stuff. All right. So I know that was a lot. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, so I can look at y'all in chat simultaneously. It's all good if you don't have no questions. I mean, if I presented that amazing of a presentation in half the time that we allotted, then whew, that's some level of efficiency. All right. I guess the last thing I could do is kind of show you a little bit of the evidence that we have worked on. If you were at Coach Camp, you did see some of it. We have narrowed it down a bit. I will share my screen again. So this is the packet that we're going to use this year. It's still being edited until it's printed. Again, until it is printed. Until it's printed, it's not final. So yeah, this is what a typical packet would look like, and this is where the evidence is. Usually we have like a table of contents, and we're gonna actually rearrange them by like argument type and not by how the arguments go. Because if you look right now, it says like 1AC, and then it goes like all the way down to like 2AC solvency right here. And what we would want to do is have all the affirmative arguments in one pile and all the negative arguments in another pile. That way the debaters have to like go through and see which ones go where and have to engage more. So this will be fixed a little bit to reflect that, but as it currently is like the flow of the debate, if you could see.
Just quick question about
yes.
that. Because that would be helpful for like me to have as a coach, not to have like printed in the student packet, you know what I mean? So
what you want it like this?
Well, just as far as like, I've been out of debate coaching for a couple of years, so to just be like, oh, there's the 1AC, there's the 2, just to have it labeled as such, because I know or it wasn't in the packet used before.
Wait, so the speeches weren't labeled in terms of like, so you see how like right here we have like the 1ACs. Are you
they
wondering?
Weren't labeled. They just had like a tagline.
So like for example, where we see solvency extension, like you would want this to be labeled like 1AC or 2AC?
No, I mean even just even the page that you said you were going to redo that table of contents.
Yep.
I would like it to look like that for me.
Okay.
That makes sense. I don't know. It's It's all right. I've been out of this for a couple of years, so I'll figure it
No,
out.
no, no, it's all good. I'm just trying to think about what it is that you're asking so that like, because
So,
if you're
like-
asking for it, you might not be the only one who wants it.
Well, like you said, it's on the individual pages. Like you said, you were gonna not call it 1AC on the table of contents. when
Oh,
it
no,
was
no,
gonna
no, I said I
be
was. No,
Okay.
no, sorry.
My
What I was trying to
misunderstanding.
say, no, all good. What I was trying to say is that, I wanted the arguments to be, like by argument type. So like, I want the 1AC arguments, and then after the 1AC arguments, right here, you can see that, it goes into no solvency stuff. So, oh wait, no, maybe he fixed it. No, he fixed it.
Okay.
Maybe he fixed it. Maybe he recently fixed it. But this is actually how I want it to be.
Okay,
So
because
like
I was
want
looking at that
yes.
going, no, don't get rid of that.
No. We're definitely gonna keep this. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I
Sorry
just wanna
about
make sure. No. This is great. This is what it's for. So then this is like the table of contents. This is how they should know how to navigate. Right here, we have the background. Usually this page gets skipped a lot when people are going to the files and stuff. But this is important because these 4 videos right here explain just generally some topics and conversations that we couldn't like put into the packet per se, but are just like supplementary to like what's going on. And then if you need further readings, well, we have these articles that we saw that we thought were good. Generally, and then we have this one specifically on affordable housing in Boston and waitlist to get housing vouchers and things like that. And this is just important for anyone if you want to get more information about what it is that we'll be debating this year. This right here will have this is our affirmative and negative summaries. I'm thinking of boosting the negative one a little bit just to give it some more heft, but functionally, this is what it is. These are not meant to be used in debates per se. They're just meant like if you need an overview of what a case is, then you're just here to look at this real quick and be like, oh, okay, this is generally what they're saying. And that's what that is. Then we have like a glossary of like words or terms that are throughout the packet that we felt like need to be identified for the debaters to understand in order to like, actually debate. And then we go into our cases. And then we go into our cards. So like the 1AC, the first affirmative speech is, homelessness now, more than 500,000 people are homeless. D'Souza et al. 2022, and then so on and so forth. And then we have another card. It's just kind of saying that like unemployment is a major cause of homelessness, kind of binding the two together. This third card here just talks about how people experience homelessness have a higher risk of dying. The mortality rates are like, it's like 2 to 3, it's like 3.5 times higher than people who are housed, which is like significant. And then our plan, which is super general, intentionally general, the United States federal government should substantially increase fiscal redistribution by guaranteeing a job to all people in the United States. General, all people. And the reason why we say all people, actually, coaches, why would we say all people? I'm asking, why are we saying all people here? Why not say, by guaranteeing a job to all citizens of the United States? Because we could have just said that.
Maybe because everyone qualifies for it.
Kinda. But why is that important? Because you're right. Why is that important though?
I guess because it accounts for the millions of undocumented immigrants that our economy depends on.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Well, a part of it on its own right, but like there are just many people that can't access a job that aren't U.S. citizens that we wanted to account for in our plan, because we believe if they're here and they're adding to the economy, they should be able to participate in the federal job guarantee as well. And the solvency, which you always need, is that only jobs provide enough income for people to pay for rent and avoid homelessness. And the citation will be done, but it kind of just reinforces what we're saying. Only jobs provide enough. Only jobs can solve for homelessness and also deal with unemployment too. And then there's a lot of extensions here. Some of those extra arguments that may come up, like like if you're like, well, 500,000 people is not a lot, you could be like, well, many more millions of Americans are at risk of being homelessness. So we do want to help those people out too. And these are just cards that come up like in the 2AC and the later speeches when the first negative constructive has had their time to say what they wanted to say. And then just like other solvency cards, like probably solvency cards that you were thinking about, maybe like, you know, we're going to solve for jobs training because we're good. We solve with competition with the private sector because the federal jobs guarantee forces wages to go up. Jobs for unhoused people, this is effective, so on and so forth. Types of jobs that are created, because one of the things I heard in debate coach camp was what type of jobs that would be created, and I cut a card for that because I thought that that was a very good argument that you could make if you didn't know what was going on in a vacuum. And then we will go here to no harms. This is the negative side now, so negative is going to be answering. And they're saying that like people experience homelessness for many reasons, not just lack of employment. The negative will also say that, you know, the problem with programs is like implementation. It's not the actual programs themselves. Like the idea is good, but how we execute the idea is not good. And then training in workers. And then the federal jobs undermine the private sector. Jobs guarantee would be hard for low wage market, et cetera, et cetera. The plan collapses the economy, classic. And then a work requirement, which I don't think we're going to use. So then you have like the counter plan, what the negative is going to be saying. So the 50 states and all relevant territories should streamline access to affordable housing financing. And then it's just essentially saying that state solves better than the federal government, so on and so forth. And that would be the flow of the debate. They would say that housing crisis is the reason. Investments in affordable housing boost local economies. Lack of affordable housing use plays a larger role in rates of homelessness than income, stuff like that. So this is our draft case that you get to see, that you got to look through a little bit of all the cards. This is more or less what we'll be using for the first half of the year for at least the novices and the JV middle school. And then JV high school varsity, middle school varsity, JV high school, and JV and high school varsity, they will either have more buffed up version of this, so they'll have like way more answers and way more you know, just way more arguments made, and they'll also they'll have access to like the disadvantages. They'll have access to like another counter plan, just things like that, and that's how we'll add on to it. But this is the core debate that we wanted the novices to have. Federal jobs guarantee versus affordable housing. Who is going to solve for the economy and who's going to solve for homelessness? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. We got to look at the evidence for a bit. We got to talk about the evidence in a little bit of detail. We got to go over the case. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? Going once. Going twice. Well, if that's the case, I really appreciate everyone for showing up. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you got a glimpse of what it is that we'll be talking about this year, with the expectation that we'll be sending out those materials soon. And you also have access to this Google Drive file that has a lot of the ways to explain some of the harder topics to the young debaters. So we went over our resources and we went over the topics. If that's the case, then I will leave us. I will conclude our meeting. I hope everyone has a lovely Thursday evening. And I hope that if you are going to school, that like your first week of school starts great. And if you've already been in school, that your first week of school went great. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep. Have a good one.